Oh, honey, it's okay. We all have those days.
My grocery cashier had been bagging my items for 2.5 minutes longer than she needed to, and that was the first thing my body noticed before my brain caught up. Her name tag said Marisol. She was maybe 45. She had been at this register the last 6 times I had come into the store, which had been every Tuesday evening for the previous 3 months, because Tuesday at 7 was when this particular store was quietest, and I had developed a small ritual of doing my grocery shopping in the calm after dinner. She had always been efficient. She had bagged my groceries quickly. She had wished me a good evening. We had exchanged maybe 16 sentences total over 3 months, all of them about coupons or produce or the weather. That Tuesday, the 7th Tuesday, she was moving slowly. She was placing each item into the bag with a careful, deliberate attention that was unlike anything I had seen her do before. She had picked up a box of crackers and had held it for a full 4 seconds before putting it in the bag. She had folded my receipt in half. She had folded it in half a second time. She had folded it in half a third time, which is not a way anybody folds a receipt. She slid the folded receipt across the small counter to me. Her hand stayed on top of it for a half second longer than it needed to. Her eyes met mine. Her eyes were trying to tell me something her mouth could not say. She said, in a normal voice, "Have a good evening, Miss Linnaeus." I had never told her my name. I picked up the receipt. I picked up the bag. I walked toward the front of the store. I did not unfold the receipt until I was near the magazine rack, 20 feet from her register, with my back to the front windows. The receipt had something written on the inside of the 3 folds, in pencil, in handwriting that had been written fast. "Please do not go to your car. There are 2 people in the parking lot who have been waiting for you for 45 minutes. They came in twice asking the manager when you usually come on Tuesdays. They have a photograph of you. I am asking you to go to the back of the store, past the deli counter, through the double doors that say employees only, and out the loading dock door. There is a sheriff's deputy at the loading dock. He has been there for 30 minutes. I called him. He is waiting for you. Please, do not look back at me. Do not change your face. Walk to the back like you forgot something. Hit subscribe. Drop your city in the comments. Stay all the way to the end of this video. There is a thing I learned in the next 4 hours about a piece of my own history that I had been carrying without knowing I was carrying it, and the learning has restructured how I understand the last 17 years of my life. Listen the whole way through. I did exactly what the note said. I did not change my face. I turned, naturally, the way a person turns when they have remembered they forgot something. I walked back into the store. I walked past the cereal aisle, past the bakery, past the deli counter. I did not look at the front of the store. I did not look back at Marisol. I walked to the double doors at the back. The doors had a small sign that said employees only. I pushed through them. The back of the store was fluorescent lit and concrete floored and smelled like cardboard. 2 stock workers were unpacking a pallet near the wall. They looked up at me. They did not look surprised. The taller one nodded toward a door at the far end of the room. The door was open. There was sunlight coming through it, even though it was after 7 and the sun should have been almost down. I walked toward the door. A man in a sheriff's deputy uniform stepped into the doorway. He held up a hand, palm out, and said, in a calm voice, "Miss Linnaeus, stay right there. My name is Deputy Atchison. Your cashier called us 43 minutes ago. I'm going to ask you to step into my cruiser, which is parked at the back of the loading dock. We are going to drive away from this building immediately. I will explain everything as soon as we are moving. Do you have your purse and your phone?" I said yes. He said, "Good, leave the groceries. Marisol will hold them at the customer service desk for you. Come with me now." I followed him out the loading dock door. There was an unmarked dark sedan parked at the far end of the dock. He opened the back door for me. I got in. He got in the driver's seat. He started the engine. He pulled away from the building, around the side, past the dumpsters, and out onto the small service road behind the grocery store. He did not go through the front parking lot. He turned onto the main road heading north. He said, "Miss Linnaeus, I am taking you to the sheriff's office. We will be there in 11 minutes. While we are driving, I am going to tell you what is happening, because you deserve to know it from me before you walk into a building with 8 people who are going to want to talk to you about it. Are you ready?" I said yes. My voice sounded strange to me. He said, My name is Deputy Bram Atchison. I have been with this department for 9 years. The two people in the parking lot at the store you just left are a man and a woman in their 50s. They drove here from Bakersfield, California, in a white pickup truck. They arrived in town yesterday morning. They have been staying at the motel on Route 6. They came into the grocery store today at 5:30 in the afternoon and asked the manager, by name, whether a woman named Liesl Linnaeus shopped at the store, what time she usually came in, and what she looked like. The manager, who happens to be a man with 20 years of retail management experience and a wife who works as a domestic violence advocate, told them he was not at liberty to share customer information. He then went to the back office, pulled up the staff schedule, identified the cashier who has had you at her register the most often, which is Marisol, and asked her, privately, whether she knew you and whether she would be willing to look at a photograph the couple had shown him. He did not show her the photograph at that point. She said she knew her Tuesday evening customer by face but not by name. He told her to keep an eye out and to come find him immediately if you came in. She did. She came in at 6:47. The manager called us. We sent a unit. The unit, which was me, arrived at the back of the store at 7:04. I have been at the loading dock since then. The couple is still in the parking lot. They have been sitting in their truck. They have been watching the front entrance. They have a clear view of your car. They have not made any moves to leave. I sat in the back of the cruiser. I tried to think. I said, Deputy Atchison, I do not know anybody in Bakersfield, California. I have never been to Bakersfield. I do not have family in California. I do not have any reason for two strangers from California to drive across the country to find me at a grocery store in Pennsylvania. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. He said, Miss Linnaeus, the photograph they showed the manager was not a recent photograph. The manager looked at it. The manager described it to me. The photograph was a school photograph, the kind a child has taken in a school gym. The child in the photograph was a girl. The girl looked, by the manager's description, somewhere between 5 and 7 years old. She was wearing a navy blue cardigan. She had 2 front teeth that were a little crooked. The photograph had a name written across the bottom, in faded white print. The name on the photograph, the manager told me, was Stella Brennan. The manager wrote it down for me on a piece of paper because he wanted to make sure he had remembered it correctly. The couple, when they showed the manager the photograph, did not say the photograph was of you. They said the photograph was of a child they had been looking for 35 years. They said the child had been their daughter. They said they had reason to believe she had grown up to live in this town under the name Liesl Linnaeus. I sat in the back of the cruiser. I did not say anything for a long minute. I was 38 years old. My adoption had been a closed adoption in 1989. My adoptive parents, who had raised me with patience and love and steadiness, had told me when I was 7 that I had been adopted, that my biological parents had been very young and had not been able to keep me, and that the details of the adoption had been sealed at the time of the adoption by their request and were not available to any of us. I had grown up knowing I was adopted. I had not, in 20 years of adult life, made a serious attempt to find my biological family because my adoptive parents had been my parents, because the story I had been told had felt complete, and because something in me had been afraid of what I would find if I went looking. The name Stella Brennan did not, on the surface, mean anything to me. The 2 crooked front teeth did. I had been told, by the dentist who had put braces on me at 13, that my front teeth had grown in crooked and that we were going to need to straighten them. I said, Deputy, the girl in the photograph might be me. He said, I think she is. The manager thought so too. He has known you for 3 years. He recognized the eyes. He told me that on the phone. He said he had not been 100% sure when the couple was standing in front of him, but that when he looked at the photograph again after they had left, he had been pretty sure. He paused. He said, Miss Linnaeus, the couple in the parking lot is not, by themselves, dangerous in any obvious way. They are not armed. They have not made any threats. They have a story they have been carrying for 35 years, and they have driven from California to find a woman they believe is their daughter, and they are sitting in a parking lot waiting for that woman to come out of a grocery store. The reason your cashier and your store manager and now my entire department are involved is that this is not, by anybody's standard, the right way for a 35-year-old reunion to happen. You did not consent to it. You did not know they were coming. You did not know they existed. You have a right, as an adult, to decide whether you want to meet them, when you want to meet them, where you want to meet them, and with what kind of support. The way they have shown up has stripped you of that right. The reason we extracted you through the back of the store is that we wanted to give you back that right. You are now in my cruiser, with no one waiting for you in any parking lot you can see, and you have time to think. You can think for as long as you need. We have a counselor on call who specializes in reunion conversations in cases like this. She is on her way to the sheriff's office. She will be there when we arrive. You will not have to make any decisions tonight. The couple is not going anywhere. They have been told nothing yet. They are still sitting in the parking lot watching your car. We will, in the next half hour, send a different unit to inform them that you have been made aware of their presence, that you are safe, that you have legal counsel and emotional support, and that any further contact with you is going to happen, if it happens at all, through the proper channels with your consent. Do you understand? I sat in the back of the cruiser. I cried. I cried in the very specific way you cry when a thing you have been carrying without knowing you were carrying, it lands in your chest all at once. I said, yes, I understand. We arrived at the sheriff's office 11 minutes later, exactly as he had said. The counselor was already there. Her name was quietest Anchor. She was in her early 60s. She had been doing reunion counseling for 26 years. She sat with me in a small room with 2 soft chairs and a box of tissues and a window that looked out onto a small fenced yard, and she let me talk for an hour without trying to direct what I said. She asked me, eventually, 2 questions. She asked me whether I wanted to call my adoptive parents that night. She asked me whether I wanted, at any point in the next several days or weeks or months or years, to meet the people in the parking lot. I told her I wanted to call my adoptive mother. My adoptive father had died 8 years earlier. My mother lived 2 hours away. She was 72. She had been the person who had carried me to bed when I had fallen asleep in the car at age 4. She had been the person who had braided my hair every morning until I was 11 and had learned to do it myself. She had been the person who had, when I had asked her at 16 whether she thought I should try to find my biological parents, had told me that she would support whatever I decided, and that the woman who had given birth to me had given me a gift, and that the gift had been her, and that the gift had been me, and that nothing about my looking for the giver would diminish the gift. I told the counselor that I wanted to call my mother first, and that I wanted to talk to her about whether to meet the couple before I made any decision. The counselor said, "That is a beautiful answer. Let us call her." I called her at 9:43 at night. She picked up on the second ring. I told her, in a calmer voice than I had thought I could manage, what had happened. I told her about the cashier. I told her about the deputy. I told her about the photograph. I told her about the name on the photograph. I told her I was sitting at the sheriff's office with a counselor and that I was safe. There was a long pause. My mother said, "Liesl, sweetheart, I need to tell you something. Your father and I knew." I sat in the small soft chair in the small room and I did not say anything. She said, "We knew your biological parents' names. We had been told by the agency, against the rules of the closed adoption, that your biological mother had asked the agency to keep a sealed letter in a file in case you ever asked. The letter was for you. The letter was from her and from your biological father. They were teenagers when you were born. They were 16 and 17. They had not been allowed to keep you. They had been told by their parents and by the agency and by the social workers around them that they had to sign you over to a closed adoption. They had agreed because they had not seen any other option. They had also asked, on the day they signed you over, that a letter be put into your file. The letter was for the day, if it ever came, when you were old enough to look for them and wanted to know who they were. Your father and I knew about the letter. We were told about it at the time of the adoption. We were told we did not have to share its existence with you unless we wanted to. We decided, when you were 8, that we would tell you about it when you turned 18. Your father died before that day. I have been carrying that conversation for 14 years. I have been waiting for the right moment. I have not had the courage. I am so sorry. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. I am sorry you found out the way you did. The letter, sweetheart, is in a safe deposit box at my bank. I have the key. The letter has been waiting for you for 38 years. Their names on the file were Stella and Theodore Brennan. The couple in the parking lot in your town is them. They have been looking for you for 35 years. The agency closed in 2003. Their records, after the closure, became publicly searchable through a third-party reunion registry that I did not know existed until tonight, but that I am going to assume they used. I am so sorry, Liesel. I am so sorry. I sat in the small chair. I tried to breathe. I said, Mama, I love you. I am not angry with you. I am going to drive to your house tomorrow. We are going to read the letter together. Then I am going to decide what to do next. Can you wait for me until tomorrow? She said, I will wait as long as you need. I want to skip the rest, because the rest is the work of the last 7 months, and the work is not the kind of work that fits in a video. I will tell you what you need to know. The letter was waiting. The letter was 13 pages long. The letter was written by Stella when she was 16, in handwriting that was the handwriting of a 16-year-old, and it was the most honest document I have ever read. Theodore had added a single page at the end, in his own handwriting, in pencil, written carefully, the way a 17-year-old writes the most important thing he has ever written. I read the letter at my mother's kitchen table on a Wednesday afternoon. We cried for most of the reading. We cried for several hours after. I decided, after 3 weeks of thinking and several conversations with Quietest the counselor, to meet Stella and Theodore. The meeting happened at Quietest's office, with Quietest present, with the counselor they had been working with in California also present by video, with my mother in the waiting room down the hall. The meeting was 4 hours long. Most of it was crying. Most of the crying was good crying. Some of it was hard crying. Stella and Theodore had been together the entire 35 years. They had married each other at 22. They had built their lives together. They had not had other children. They had decided, the year after they had signed me over, that they could not have other children until they had found me. They had been looking, in small, careful ways, for 35 years. They had not, in those 35 years, gotten close until last spring, when a DNA match on a public registry had given them my approximate age and county and first name. They had spent 6 months confirming. They had been 90% sure when they had driven to Pennsylvania. They had not known how to approach me. They had decided, after much consultation with their counselor, that the only honest approach was to come to my town, to confirm by sight, and to figure out from there. They had been wrong about how to do it. They had known the entire drive that they were doing it wrong. They had done it anyway, because 35 years of being wrong about other things had made them tired of waiting to do this right. We are in a slow, careful process. I see Stella and Theodore by video call every other Sunday afternoon. They flew back to California 3 days after our first meeting. They will come visit again in the spring, with my consent, on a schedule we are working out together. They have met my mother by video call twice. The conversation between Stella and my mother is, by my mother's description, the hardest and most important conversation either of them has had in decades. My mother is, in her words, making peace with a woman she has been silently grateful to for 38 years. Stella is, in her words, getting to thank the woman who raised the daughter she could not raise. The two of them have decided to be in each other's lives. I have stayed mostly out of the negotiations of that part. The two of them are figuring it out. They have a right to figure it out. Marisol, the cashier, still works at the grocery store. I still go in on Tuesday evenings. I have, in the 7 months since, made it a point to go to her register every time. We do not, mostly, talk about that Tuesday. We have talked about it twice, both times briefly. She has told me, both times, that she had a feeling something was wrong the moment the couple had asked the manager about me, and that she had decided, when the manager had told her to keep watch, that she was going to do whatever she needed to do to make sure I had time to think before strangers introduced themselves to me in a parking lot. She told me she had a daughter who had been adopted out when she was 19, and that she had been looking for her daughter for 22 years, and that she had not yet found her, and that the day she found her, she hoped a stranger would do for her what she had done for me. I cried in the produce aisle the first time she told me that. She cried too. We pretended we were both upset about the price of strawberries. The manager, whose name is Henrik Volsman, is a person I have written a letter to. The letter is 2 pages long. He has the letter in a drawer in his office. I have asked him to keep it. He has agreed. He has told me, several times, that he was just doing his job. He is wrong about that. There are a lot of versions of his job that day that did not include calling the sheriff and protecting a customer's right to her own reunion. He did the version that did. I am going to write him a letter every year on the anniversary of that Tuesday for as long as he is alive. I told him so. He laughed. He told me I was being dramatic. I am not being dramatic. I want to leave you with one specific thing. There is a category of stranger in our lives who we walk past every week without noticing. The category is the people who learn our faces and our routines and our small ordinary details through the small ordinary work they do for us. The grocery cashier who has been our cashier on Tuesday evenings for 3 months. The pharmacist who has filled our prescriptions for 4 years. The librarian who has been at the front desk every Saturday morning. The mechanic who has changed our oil every 6,000 miles. The person at the dry cleaner who hands us our shirts. The person at the post office who weighs our packages. These people, almost all of them, are paying more attention to us than we have been paying to them. They know our names, sometimes. They know what we order. They know what days we come in. They know which weeks we have been tired and which weeks we have been laughing on the phone in the parking lot. They are, in the small private ways they have access to us, witnesses to our ordinary lives. When something goes wrong, when a stranger walks into the small ordinary place where we are known by sight, the witnesses are the first line of protection we did not know we had. The witnesses notice that the stranger is asking strange questions. The witnesses notice that something is off. The witnesses, if they are brave, do something about it. The witnesses, if they are very brave, fold a note 3 times and slide it across a counter to a woman who has been their Tuesday evening customer for 3 months and who they have been deciding, in the small, ordinary way you decide about a stranger you see every week, is somebody worth folding a note 3 times for? I am asking you, this week, to learn the name of one person you have been seeing weekly without knowing their name. A cashier, a barista, a pharmacy tech, a bus driver, anybody. The cost of learning the name is nothing. The cost of using the name when you next see them is nothing. The benefit, to them, is that they will know that you have noticed they exist. The benefit, to you, is that you will have moved from being a person they recognize by face to being a person they recognize by name. And the moving is the small, invisible threshold that determines whether they will fold a note 3 times for you, someday, in a moment you are not expecting and will not see coming. The note Marisol folded for me 3 times is in a small envelope in my desk drawer. The receipt itself has faded. The pencil has not. The pencil is still readable. I'm going to keep it for the rest of my life. The pencil is the record of the moment a stranger I had not yet bothered to call by her name decided that I was worth a small, private act of attention that changed the rest of my life. She is no longer a stranger. She is Marisol Reyes. She has 2 grown sons, one in Texas and one in Maryland. She has been at the grocery store for 11 years. She is 46. Her shift on Tuesdays ends at 8:30. I know all of this because I asked. I am asking you to ask too. Stella and Theodore are taking a flight on the 18th of April. They are landing in Philadelphia at 4 in the afternoon. I am picking them up. My mother is going to be at my house when we arrive. We are having dinner. The dinner is going to be the 4 of us in the same room for the first time in my life. I am making my mother's lasagna, the recipe she made for my 8th birthday, the night she sat me down on the couch and told me I had been adopted. The night that started the long, quiet wait that ended in a grocery store parking lot 30 years later. The lasagna is going in the oven at 6. Everyone is going to be at my table at 6:30. Marisol is invited. She said she would come. There is going to be a name card next to every plate. I am writing the cards myself. I am using a black pen. The handwriting is going to be my handwriting. Careful, slow, on purpose. The way you write names when you have finally learned what names are for. Names are how you know who is at the table. Learn one this week.